of your Planning Commission, the official local planning agency for the cities of Tampa, Temple Terrace, Plant City, and unincorporated Hillsborough County. The Planning Commission provides innovative leadership and long-range vision that contributes to the creation of a thriving, prosperous community that offers opportunity, fairness, and choice in how we live, move, learn, work, and play. For more information about the Planning Commission, please call 813-272-5940. Follow us on social media or visit our website at planhillsborough.org.
Welcome to the June 12th, 2023 regular meeting of the Hillsborough County City-County Planning Commission. We thank you for attending this meeting. Your comments and participation are encouraged. For those attending in person and wishing to speak on any agenda item, please sign the register at the rear of the room and turn off any devices that may be a distraction. To minimize feedback in the audio, all online participants in the meeting will be muted until it is their opportunity to speak. Planning commissioners should unmute themselves to indicate that they would like to speak. Please be sure to state your name at the beginning of your remarks for the benefit of the clerk. There will be an opportunity for members of the public to provide comments. When your name is called, you will be unmuted when it is your turn to speak. Please wait until the chair calls on you to begin speaking. State your name at the beginning of your comments and adhere to the time limits. If anyone has difficulties or is watching via HTV and would like to provide comments to be included in the record for the local government hearing, please email them to planner@plancom.org. For action items, the meeting will be conducted as follows. The agenda item will be introduced. Staff will give their presentation with a 15-minute time limit. The applicant will be given the opportunity to make a presentation with a 15-minute time limit. Following presentations, members of the public may address the Planning Commission when recognized by the chair. Public comment will be heard for 3 minutes per person. The applicant will be afforded a 3-minute period for rebuttal response. Planning commissioners will ask questions. Public comment will be closed. Then upon a motion, a second, and discussion, a vote will be taken. With that introduction, I will ask Commissioner Buzza to lead us in the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance. Would all please rise? Thank you, Commissioner Buzza. All right. With that, I will ask the clerk to go ahead and do the roll call, please.
Good afternoon. Bernstein?
Here.
Bowden?
Here.
Buzza?
Here.
Cardenas? Cardenas? Fernandez?
Here.
Handy? Handy? Kress?
Here.
Lauk? Lauk? Soria?
Here.
Horton?
Here.
Rodriguez? Rodriguez? Joseph?
Here.
Thank you. You have a quorum.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have the approval of the April 10th, 2023 minutes and the May 8th, 2023 minutes. Do I have a motion? Anyone?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
All right. Commissioner Bernstein motions for the approval.
Second.
And I'll take Commissioner Buzza for the second. Commissioner Bernstein, motions of approval. Commissioner Buzza for the second, approving the minutes for April 10th and May 8th, 2023. Any more discussions from the commissioners? Not seeing any. I will ask the clerk to do a roll call vote.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Buzza?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Kress?
Yes.
THEA,
Yes.
Joseph.
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, we have public input for items not scheduled on the agenda, and I don't believe we had anyone sign up for any of that. So we will move on to item number 3, the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority presentation by Mr. Bob Frey.
Good afternoon. My name is Bob Fry. I'm the Director of Planning and Innovation at the Expressway Authority. I'm going to see here if we can remember which one this is. There we go. Okay. And it's not going to show up there, right? Okay. All righty. Melissa asked to come in and give the Planning Commission an update on some of our projects that we have going on, and also some of the directional changes we have. Now we have a new executive director, Greg Slater, the former Secretary of Transportation from Maryland, who is now in charge of the Expressway Authority. So we've been going through a new strategic plan and also looking at our work program, which will be adopted coming up at the end of this month. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the projects that we've been working on. Everybody here I know is aware of the Gandy Selman West Extension. This project now has been open for several years, and it's funny, when it was first opened, on the day it was open, Councilman Citro asked me, are we going to document what this project actually does or not? So we actually went out and at 2022 did some data and analysis that we'd like to show you here. Let me get rid of that. From 18 to 22, the Gandy extension, we saw a 22% decrease in total crashes along the corridor that we were able to document. This is the crash reductions at the intersections from Westshore, Manhattan, Lois, and Dale Mabry. Lois at 36% being the highest. This was a really interesting project because the Expressway Authority, we get a lot of credit for it, but it was really great because it was actually 3 agencies involved with that. We built the structure. FDOT allowed us to use their right-of-way in the median of Gandy, and we worked with the city of Tampa to rebuild Westshore and the intersections at the same time while we're under construction, to try to make it a safer corridor. So having these 3 agencies, I think it's a really good example of a project, how we can work together with different agencies and actually provide a better project than if one agency tries to do it alone. This is the percent change of time that we saw on the corridor. Eastbound and westbound, 40% reduction in travel times. What was beauty about that is we pulled about 40% of the trips above the corridor and gave the corridor back to the community, as well as making it safer and giving the through trips a much better direction and time. So we were really happy with this project. I wanted to bring this to you, show you what we saw from the project now that it's been opened. Looking at our strategic plan going forward, serve, invest, transform, and excel. That's where we're heading, and was adopted by our board of directors. The Expressway Authority, we do not receive any tax dollars whatsoever. We're 100% user fee based on what we're doing. So what we're looking at is, how do we take the toll dollars that we generate and then invest them back into the community for sustainable transportation, at the same time as meeting the community needs. These are one of the things that we're really looking at right now under our new executive director, is assuring our customers receive a premium trip, because they are paying for the toll road. We analyze this. We make sure that people use 40, 45 miles an hour as our travel speed. And when we make sure that we try to keep it below 8% of the total trips, meaning that you're sitting in traffic, not moving at that speed. This is really important to us in terms of, basically, it's an option to use our roadway. And we live pretty much in the intermediate trip, the 11 to 12 miles from Brandon to Dale Mabry, Brandon now to the beaches. We're able to go down to the Gandy Boulevard, those type of trips. So we try to make sure that we're providing a quality trip which is safer, more efficient, and also for that. With the projects that we have right now, we're looking at the system has to function as a part of the whole, working with the city, the county, FDOT as well. These are some of the projects that we've been looking at, and I'm going to go through each of these a little bit and talk about them. With the starting out east with the Selman East, which would be the reconstruction of Selman East going from I-75 into the city, a slip ramp project that we've done, and also working with the I-4 frame for FDOT. So let me go a little bit into here. So here's the first project you'll be seeing is the South Selman. This project goes from basically the river to Dale Mabry. And this project is on the street right now. We're about ready to award this, and it will be a reconstruction of building to the outside, adding lanes and sound walls along the whole corridor, and in the future having the option to add additional transportation on the inside when we agreed to, as part of the PD&E process, to do an analysis in approximately 2030, 2034 time period to look at what that would be. So this project right now will be awarded, and in the next year you'll start to see this project go forward. And also, as part of this project, what we're looking at was working with the city on the Vision Zero goals. This project right here, if you look at it, this is Willow Avenue. We went in and did Vision Zero analysis on each of the corridors and looked at what can we do to make it safer for pedestrians and bicyclists as well as aesthetically working with the neighborhoods and the homeowners associations on what we can do to help the corridor. So this one in particular is Willow, and then we also did the same on Euclid. What we're looking at on this project is hopefully we'll have a 17% decrease in crashes. Also looking at, making it up to 30% on multiple vehicle crashes. We will do a similar analysis that you saw in Gandy. We'll be coming back once this is done and monitoring it. We monitor it every year, and we'll be bringing it back not only to our board, but also to the other jurisdictions to see how the project goes forward and if it's accomplishing the goals that we're looking to accomplish. On the next project I want to talk a little bit about is Selman East, which will go from I-75 into the city. But we started this one. This project will be looking at adding an additional travel lane in each direction with the reversible lane in the middle. We're looking at this project going probably, you're going to see this in the 2030s time period. We'll be completing the PD&E this year. We'll have the public presentation coming up in the September time frame, and then completion, sending it to the Planning Commission for your review at the end of this calendar year. And this is the widening of what the cross-section would, what we're looking at. A project that I'd like to talk a little bit about here is that came out of this is our slip ramp projects. They're under construction right now. As part of our PD&E, we did some analysis and looked at, we have additional capacity on the reversible segments, as you can see during the day. We get hit real hard in the mornings, then in the evenings, but there's a lot of capacity that we're able to use. What we found was doing an analysis that if we put a slip ramps in, which allows people to access the reversible lanes and then at the I-4 connector come back down to the lower lanes, we can use that capacity and push off having to add additional lanes to the Selman East for 10 years. So we worked with FDOT on this because we're in the I-75 limited access area that we had to work with. And this project came out of the PD&E, and it's under construction right now, and we'll actually be adding capacity plus pushing off having to go out and do, which could be up to $1 billion worth of work out there ultimately in 2030, 2040. So I really like this project because it shows that when we do these PD&Es and we go forward, if we identify solutions, we can bring them, we can bring them forward, get them done quicker, and possibly push off the longer projects as much as possible and make better use of what we have that's out there right now. So this, to me, was one of my favorite projects that we've had recently. The other part of this, of our system, is under the settlement. And there's a picture there of a mangrove, because basically what we're looking at right now, and what our, going forward, our view is activating the underneath. A lot of our system is elevated, so we have this space underneath. How do we use it to bring the community together, provide more amenities, as well as keeping those through faster trips out of the local area so the people and the pedestrians and bicycles can use it. So the mangrove was actually something that they came up with on how we're trying to do that to activate that. One of the things I wanted to show you is we were in the middle of doing a Greenway master plan right now. And the Greenway in downtown in the city gets a lot of, we talk about that more. But I wanted to really show you this because our system is in the county as well and goes for all the way out from Brandon to Gandy. So we are doing the analysis, looking at what can we do out in the county area as well to try to activate those areas and bring more activity centers and things along those lines. So this Greenway master plan will be done probably within the next 6 months, and we've been looking at the different areas. This one, for example, right now is the opportunity analysis we just did in the downtown, trying to look at connecting to the Riverwalk and how do we work with the city of Tampa. Tampa General Hospital has become a new partner we've been working with on mobility and health, and how do we get people out moving and using the pedestrians. So we've been working on these types of things, and so you're going to see a big emphasis going forward on the Greenway, looking at using that space, how do we make it better, talking to the community about it. This, for example, is an example over at 12th Street, which is behind the dog park. How do we use this to connect to Ybor to make more efficient pedestrian, bicycle connections, work with all the development that's going out there, work with Ybor City, and at the same time create a more aesthetically pleasing as well as useful space. I always joke around telling people, when we're talking about, we want this to look good too. We live here, this is our community and our roadway, we want to do it. Our goal here is, and I know I want to knock the underline off, to be honest with you. I want people talking about the Selman Greenway in Tampa and the pedestrian stuff rather than Miami and down there. So that's what we're putting out to our consultants to try to do that. And there's a little rendering down there of what we're trying to do. How do we turn this retention pond into usable space? Sort of like if you've ever been to Fort Worth and some of those areas, how they've used those drainage places. And how do we use it so when it's dry, we're able to use it, and at the same time, then that dry-wet combination. So we're looking at different things rather than just putting a fence around it and leaving it as retention. One of the things THEA has been known for over the past 60 years has been innovation. We were the first to go all electronic tolling. We were also the first with the reversible lanes. We just finished the connected vehicle pilot with US DOT. So that was a success. We finished that one on time, on budget, and all the data was used with US DOT. We're working right now with I-4 on their I-4 frame, connecting I-4 to the Selman and using the arterial roadways, looking at how do we go forward with new technology as it's coming in. These are just some of the partners that we're working with at the Expressway Authority on the innovation side, working with the original equipment manufacturers, universities, and business as well. So some of this is, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer on it, but using connectivity to have a safer, more efficient trip. We talk about trips so much, and one of my favorite pieces is each trip is just one person trying to live his life, trying to get to where they need to go and what they want to do, and that's one of the things we're trying to work at with these other partners on how do we do that better and get it onto the community to take advantage of our resources better. So I know that you had a big agenda. I wanted to go through pretty quickly. As I said, Greg Slater is our new executive director. We'll be going forward, and you'll be seeing some new projects coming forward. I'm the director of planning, and if anybody has any questions and love to get in touch with me, we're always available. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, great presentation, by the way. Are there any questions, discussion items from the commissioners? I see Commissioner Fernandez looks eager.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Fred. That was great. I took the extension this weekend. It's just fantastic. I think it's done, marvels down there. I'd love to see this on Fowler. I-275 to USF. We talk about the community, giving the road back. We have 8 lanes there. This would just be really fantastic going from I-275 to Fowler. So I'd love to see that in the future. But thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner Fernandez. Commissioner Kress?
Hi, Bob. Thanks for your commitment to the aesthetics and to Vision Zero. I think with more lanes and the reversible and everything else, traffic might be more free-flowing. So I'm wondering, how are you managing speeds?
On the expressway? Mm-hmm. We pretty much with enforcement, we work with the Hillsborough County Sheriff and the State Patrol. Sorry, I have tendency. We work with local law enforcement on that. We want these through trips to move on the limited access facilities at 45, minimum to the speed limit. But we definitely are looking at, unfortunately, we're not looking for speeders or aggressive driving. We want to make sure that it's safe out there. So we definitely work with them on that. A couple of things we're looking at for the future. We'd love to get into speed harmonization. How do we identify speeds that work best to move the most people without having to then widen and use other means? So we're definitely looking at that as well. But we're trying to do it with the carrot approach as opposed to the stick, where maybe we do it with toll discounts and we have connected technology in the vehicle where we're giving you a speed that if you follow it, you'll get the ideal toll rate and it'll move more people through the corridor safer. So those are some of the things we're doing on the innovation side to manage speed and to make it more advantageous for somebody to follow what needs to be done.
That's great. And then if I may, I didn't hear it as part of your presentation, but I also wanted to say thank you for your care in how the ramps interact with busy pedestrian areas like in downtown Tampa.
That is definitely a sensitive area with us. I mean, the bottom line, the most sensitive area for us is our ramps into an urban area where we get the mixed use between pedestrians, bicyclists, public transportation, and then cars coming at speed down there. So we're definitely be looking at that. We just actually worked with FDOT on a bicycle monitoring with camera analytics, and in our work program, looking forward on how do we get that at every ramp access point and every conflict point, so we're able to see where these points are, so that we can do geometric changes and work on it. So it's definitely something we've been working on. Along Meridian, we've made all those changes. Now we have 7 signalized crossings within 0.8 of a mile for pedestrians and bicyclists. When I first started here, half of those were unsignalized, so they were under no control. So we've definitely made some changes, and we're always looking forward for that. So if anybody has any ideas, bring them forward. I can't guarantee we can do them, but we will listen and at least try our best to do them.
Thank you.
All right. Yes, Commissioner Bernstein.
Mr. Fry, thanks for the presentation. I just want to say on a broader perspective, thanks to you and to your colleagues over at THEA. And they've had a really, from my perspective, wonderful track record since they got going here. And the Selman extension is just a recent example of that. But the fact that you all were able to accomplish that while improving safety along the Gandy corridor, improving not just commuting times, but it dawns on me potentially evacuation times in the event of a hurricane or other natural disaster, and ultimately planning for the incredible amount of growth that we can expect is pretty impressive. So great work over there. Thank you.
Thank you, and we enjoy doing it. And like I said, if there's other things that you want us to look at, especially going through Greg, ask, and we'll definitely do our best to see what we can do. Thank you.
Thank you. I had a question also.
Sure, please.
I love talking to you guys for the same reason Commissioner Bernstein mentioned, but Data, THEA is always on the cutting edge of data. I was wondering if you're doing any work with connected infrastructures right now, vehicle to connected infrastructure communications or anything like that. You talked about the carrot and the stick and controlling speed limits using vehicle information and communications, but I didn't know if there was any like thoughts on infrastructure going forward, the actual physical infrastructure becoming smart and communicating with the vehicle just yet.
In terms of connectivity, we have a couple of things that are happening that mean a lot probably to us in terms of, so for example, we're working with a local company on the street lights with Wi-Fi so that we're able to use a net and a grid type of system of providing not only Wi-Fi for underneath, but moving data above. And rather than using typical fiber wire, you'd be able to so if you get an area that's blocked, it would find a way around it and keep things moving. So that is something that we'll be doing, and hopefully in the next 4 to 5 months, we'll be, and TECO's involved as well, getting that pilot going. But it will be able to help us move data from urban areas. Fiber is difficult because I always joke around. We had one conduit that we pushed for the connected vehicle pilot, a quarter mile of fiber down there. It never came up. We don't know where it went. But you're in an urbanized area that's 400 years old. I mean, they built on each. So trying to bore and do things like you would for typical conduit, it's very difficult. If we can come up with a way of doing it using an infrastructure that we already put in, and it's able to move data for us and connect different areas, that's a huge game changer. So we're investigating doing that type of thing. We've got a couple of things that we're looking at. As far as the connected technology, we're working with FDOT on the I-4, their frame projects. FDOT has been really great in doing this. How do we connect our limited access facilities using our arterials? And we're going to connect the Seminole with I-4, and they're doing it on 75 and also 95. So we've been working with them on how do we do that, and how do we do a better job. As far as getting stuff into the vehicle, I would love to come up with a transponder that we, as a roadway operator, are able to control, to put enough out there where we don't have to rely on the auto manufacturers to come up with something and go forward. So we're definitely looking at that. To answer your question, whether or not we have anything right now on that, I wish I did. And as soon as I do, I will definitely come back and give you a presentation on it, because that's definitely an interest of ours.
Yeah, I didn't mean to rake you over the coals. It was just a personal
No,
curiosity.
no.
So yeah, and your answer was great.
I can get going here.
That moving data stuff was exactly what I was looking for. You all always come at things in different ways, and it's always interesting to hear some of the other stuff going on. So thank you for that. Were there any more questions or discussion items, compliments? Oh, Commissioner Soria. Sorry.
Yes. Thank you for the presentation, Mr. Frey. I'm one of those person who used to avoid tolls all the time, so I started using it. And definitely the aesthetics makes a difference when you're driving. It gives you a peace of mind. You're avoiding all the traffic as well, so definitely that something helps. One, while you're driving, you're focused on the driving aspect and safety as well. Two questions I had was, on the presentation you mentioned the decrease in the accidents, but at the same time, has there been an increase in the users over the period of time? And would you know like how much is the increase? And secondly, what does it take for like a new route to be added? Like, let's say if we want to bypass the bottleneck that's at 275 and I-4, bypassing it to go to the airport into Veterans Express, like how much timeline do you think, like if something like that comes up, like data-wise, oh, it's feasible, there's users ready to pay for it, like how long do you think that would take to come up with a project like that?
Well, the easy question is, yes, we're setting records every month on usage. So we are seeing the volumes go up. We are probably 20% higher now than we were pre-COVID. So in terms of more people on the roadway, we're definitely seeing a trend, and there's also more people. I think I saw a stat that we have State's getting 1,000 people a day are moving to state, so we're seeing the growth rates that we're seeing and people coming in. That also plays into it. So yes, we are growing and we are seeing more. Just for the record, we're a firm believer that we need all transportation improvements, not just tollways. I mean, we need it all. We need public transportation, sidewalks, bike paths, you name it, we need it to deal with this. So we're definitely into working with the other agencies to provide those. As for your other question, how long does it take for a project? Depends on the project. For what you're asking for, would be more of a traffic management center project. For us, being that we don't have one, it would be a long time. It would take us 6, 7, 8 years to get up to a point where we were given that type of information at. But FDOT, with their Sun Guide system, is already in place. So for them on how do we do that, an email, and then working with them on how do we make sure that if there's areas that need more information, that we can get it to them. Their system's already in place, so we would then work with them on that. So it's really not, out of the realm of possibility of getting something done fairly quickly through the DOT system.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Appreciate that.
All right, Ms. Ornita.
I just wanted to take a moment to thank Bob, not only for his presentation, but for THEA's participation in our FLIP program 2 weeks ago. They gave the students a great tour and a great experience. So thank you very much.
No problem.
All right.
And hopefully we be coming back with the next thing that we're doing.
All right. Are there any more questions or comments from the commissioners, discussions, compliments? No? All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Fry,
Yes.
and we will move on to our next item of business. All right. Next up, we have agenda item 4A. It's action item time. All right. 4A, appointment of TPO Citizens Advisory Committee representative, and the presenter is Melissa Zornita.
Yes, as you all know, as a voting member of the Transportation Planning Organization, the Planning Commission has the opportunity to appoint a member to the Citizens Advisory Committee. They serve a 2-year term, and in accordance with your bylaws, those who apply are given the opportunity to make a 3-minute presentation to the Planning Commission. So we have one candidate who applied, William Hodges, who's here today, and give him the opportunity to make a presentation, and then it will be for action for you to appoint Mr. Hodges to the TPO-CAC. Thank you.
Mr. Hodges, yes.
How are you guys doing today? I am Hodges Williams. I applied for your position for the Citizens Opportunity Council. I believe I am the perfect person for the job. I've been in the electric utility field now for about 22 years. My specialty is in project management, data analysis, and data collection. I'm a pedestrian, I'm a bicyclist, I'm a hybrid worker. I understand the infrastructure of our city. There's a segment of the population like myself. We sit at home and we troll on our computers. 20 minutes we're up and we're walking down the highway, right? So we want to make sure that the sidewalk is available when we need it. I'm also a driver. I used to be a commuter, used to drive back and forth every day, an hour each way. So I understand when you're sitting in traffic, you want to get home really fast. You kind of get that agitation, now I got to get home even faster because I may be delayed. So I understand that. I believe I'm the perfect person for the job because I believe citizens use our infrastructure. And I believe that the only way to connect with them is speaking with them, collecting the data, bring it back into the key stakeholders, and then identify key components where we can make changes. I'm kind of nervous this is outside of my wheelhouse, although I'm confident I can nail it, but I'm a new fresh set of eyes, so I bring a new perspective to the position. And if I'm permitted the opportunity to demonstrate my ability, I think I can knock it out for you guys. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. That was a great presentation. Great little speech. All right. So we have to possibly take some action on this item. My commissioners here, do I have any discussions from any of the commissioners? Oh, I guess I got to do public comment on this too, don't I? No one signed up in public comment for this item though, so I'll send it back to the commissioners for any discussion on this. Commissioner Kress?
I think you've probably been forewarned, but meetings can be quite lengthy.
Yes.
Okay.
I got my Yeti with me, so it's fine.
Okay, okay, great. Well, thanks for being willing to do that. It's an important position.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Kress. Were there any more comments or questions from the commissioners? Not seeing any, then I will go ahead and close the public comment and open it up to motions from the commissioners on this item. Commissioner Buzza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move that we approve Mr. Hodges' application for the TPO Citizens Advisory Committee.
All right, motion of approval by Commissioner Buzzer. Commissioner Bowden?
I second that motion.
All right, motion of approval by Commissioner Buzzer, a second to that motion by Commissioner Bowden. Is there more discussion? Not seeing any lights, then I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote on this item.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Buzza?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Kress?
Yes?
Soria?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
All right, congratulations. Thank you.
Proud.
Thank you. And the TPO staff will be in touch with you about the meeting schedule and information for the next meeting.
All right, thanks. You guys have a good
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, our next item for business is B, City of Tampa Land Development Code text amendments, and the first one up is B1, Section 2743, 27256, and 27211, adaptive reuse, and the presenter is Sam Thomas.
Sorry about the technical delay. Sam Thomas with your Planning Commission staff. This is the first of 9 LDC text amendments coming before you tonight. This first one is adaptive reuse. So this background applies to all 9 amendments that are coming before you all tonight. They were publicly initiated by the City of Tampa staff, and they're part of the January 2023 Land Development Code text amendment cycle. So for this request, currently adaptive reuse is only permitted in the Ybor City special districts, and this request will allow for adaptive reuse to be made citywide, but only in non-residential districts. Planning Commission staff reviewed the request, and we found that it streamlines development regulations to ensure that it meets the needs of Tampa's neighborhoods. We also found that it supports and encourages preservation standards that reflect the historical development pattern and preserves the character of historic districts without unduly subjecting property owners to variance review process. So with those in mind, Planning Commission staff recommend this text amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. I'm available for any questions, and I will now turn it over to Stephen Benson or Eric Cotton.
Eric Cotton, Development Coordination, City of Tampa. As Sam just indicated, these are basically the same background as for all of these. You know, oh, I'm shorter, I know. Twice a year, we come before you with text amendments to Chapter 27 in an effort to improve the code and address issues that arise throughout the year. There's 9 amendments moving forward. The first one happens to do with adaptive reuse. So, timeline, today's the meeting. We're supposed to go to council August 31st for an evening hearing, and then the adoption hearing, if all goes well, will be September 28th, 2023. Let me go to, these are a little different order than what we were having. So let me go, here we go. Okay, adaptive reuse. So in the historic district of Ybor City, it allows for what's called an adaptive reuse, which is the reuse of existing structures that are either a landmark or in the historic district, and outside of Ybor City, just a landmark structure that's listed on the national registry and stuff. So what happens is they're only allowed in non-residential zoning districts. So you'll see the text amendment that affects chapter. We're trying to allow this in 2 others throughout citywide, which is 27-156. That would be all the non-residential zoning districts outside of the industrial, and also in Seminole Heights. Adaptive reuse allows somebody to take an older building, cigar factory, an older home that's been landmarked, that's on the National Registry, for instance, and change the use to something that's either from a commercial to a residential use, or a non-residential use like an office, or neighborhood serving commercial uses, which would be, some of that would be allowed in the CN zoning district. This is the proposed definition. Basically, the reuse of any structure that is classified as contributing to a local or national historic district, or a structure designated as a local landmark and again, for the residential, office, or neighborhood serving commercial uses. Code section 27156, we're going to propose to allow that in the RO, RO1, OP, OP1, CN, CG, and CI zoning districts, and in Seminole Heights in the SHRO, SHCN, SHCG, and SHCI. The advantage that this gives to someone, if you have an existing older building that doesn't comply with code regarding site issues for parking, for green space, normally when you go through a change of use in the city and you go from a residential to an office, you have to comply with all those requirements of the code. This is saying, because we don't want to disrupt the fabric of that site, the way it's been developed for the past 75, 100 years, this will allow you to go through that process, establish a non-residential use, for instance, or whatever it might be, an office from an office, like I said, like a house to an office, without having to comply with all the codes of the city. Planning Commission have any staff? And Planning Commission have any questions?
All right, we didn't have anyone sign up for a public comment on this item, so I'll turn it over to the commissioners. I see Commissioner Kress.
Eric, help me understand the connection with, do you have to have some kind of official historic preservation to qualify for the adaptive reuse?
According to the code, or according to the definition right now, yes, and what the proposed amendment would be, you're either in a local or national historic, national district, so either Seminole Heights, Ybor, Tampa Heights, West Tampa, you could be any of those, or you can have you're just been established as a local or national landmark. So it doesn't mean if you're in the middle of East Tampa and you happen to have an old building, that doesn't mean you automatically qualify for this unless you've been designated as such by the HPC, the Historic Preservation Commission.
Is it too long of an answer to ask why it has to be landmarked or designated?
There are, anything older than 50 years is considered historic by the definition. Mm-hmm. So that would encompass a very large number of properties that would be able to take advantage of this, which we probably would not want to. This is strictly to protect historical resources, not just old buildings.
Okay, so the goal is to protect historic resources.
Correct.
I see. I'm just thinking of like 220 Madison in downtown Tampa, which was a dilapidated commercial building, and they converted to residential. They kind of coincidentally ended up being landmarked, but in the beginning they weren't going.
No, and they would have had to comply with residential requirements for parking and for green space and such.
Right, which almost killed the project.
Right. But as a landmark site, they wouldn't have to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I might follow up offline. Thank you.
Okay.
Good questions, Commissioner Kress. Thank you. Commissioner Bowden.
My question is, and you touched on it, about the parking. If you go from a basic residential to now it's an office building, how do you accommodate that?
But there's always parking on the street, and sometimes there is parking on site. A lot of times you'll see, like, commercial parking doesn't allow for tandem, front and back. Mm-hmm. That would be something that would be allowed as an adaptive reuse, because mobility would make that determination of what they would be required. Instead of requiring 3.3, which is a typical parking for an office, maybe we go down to one space or two spaces, assuming there's some on-site parking available. Again, this is only in commercial districts, so it's where commercial already exists. So you wouldn't have in the middle of a residential zoning district an office pop up. That wouldn't be allowed.
Okay. But I thought I heard you say that you could convert
residential to office.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. So that's what I was thinking, and I don't know if Tampa actually has anything like that. If you have like what we used to call a 3-flat, and now you turn it into a
3 offices.
3 offices of about let's say 12,000 square feet. In the office space, you're talking about roughly anywhere between 15 to 20 additional people that's going to be utilizing that space.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's where I'm going with the traffic question. Where they're going to park. I guess it would just be incumbent on them to find a place to park as best they can.
Well, ideally, if it's an existing residential with that many, with that size of a residential, they should adequately, under today's code, they would already have 6 parking spaces dedicated plus visitor parking, so about 8 spaces already. So the reduction in the required parking would not be that dramatic. Maybe from 15 spaces to 8, but there should be on-street parking. And the older historic districts like Ybor and such, there usually is this, on-street parking available for people to utilize.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
All right. Any more questions from the commissioners, comments, discussion items? Not seeing any at this time, then I will go on ahead and close the public comment on this item and open it up to motions from the commissioners. Anyone? Commissioner Fernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that, where's my number? Text amendment, section 27-43, 27-256, and 27-211 be found consistent with the Tampa Comprehensive Plan and forwarded the recommendation to the Tampa City Council.
All right. Oh.
I'm sorry, I need to make a correction for the record. It actually should be section 27-156, not 256. My apologies.
All right. For the record, that's 27-156, not 256. But still a consistency motion by Commissioner Fernandez. And do I hear a second anywhere, Commissioner Buzza?
I'll second.
All right. We have a motion for consistency by Commissioner Fernandez, a second to that motion by Commissioner Buzza. Any more comments or questions from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this time. I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote on this item.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Buzza?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Kress?
Yes.
THEA?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. All right. Next up, 4B2, Section 27-149, public notice in the event of emergency declaration, and the presenter is Danny Collins.
Danny Collins with your Planning Commission staff. This is Tampa LDC text amendment related to public notice in the event of an emergency declaration. Currently, council is required to convene a public hearing to continue cases during the event of an emergency declaration. This was the case during Hurricane Ian. As proposed, the zoning administrator will have the authority to administratively continue cases to the next available public hearing during the event of an emergency declaration. The Planning Commission staff reviewed the request and found it consistent with several policies of the comprehensive plan. The request streamlines development regulations and ensures municipal codes are sensitive to meeting needs of Tampa's neighborhoods. The request also continues to encourage citizen participation in city government and the decision-making process. Based on those considerations, the Planning Commission staff finds the proposed LDC text amendment to be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. That concludes my presentation. I'll turn it over to Eric.
Oh, there it is. Thank you. Thank you. So this is an amendment, as Danny just indicated. During Ian, and actually prior, because one affected the Variance Review Board, which was probably the 2018 storm, which was Irma. They start to run together after a while. Where council, for Hurricane Ian, council had to convene that evening to continue the cases. All this is allowing is those cases are automatically continued to the next available hearing. Council can then reschedule at that time, but it does not require, unless council, the Variance Review Board, or the Barrio Latino Commission, or Architecture Review Commission says you have to renotice. Doesn't require applicants to renotice for another hearing. So it's automatically continued to the next available hearing. At that time, council or whomever the board would take action on it, either hear the cases and have a longer agenda, or move the cases to another hearing without having the applicant have to go redo their notice. So this is the proposed language, basically just indicating what I just stated. You all have any questions?
All right. No one signed up for public comment on this one, so to the commissioners for questions, comments, discussion. Not seeing any lights, and I'll go ahead, close public comment, and
Thank you.
open it up to motions on this item, the commissioners. Commissioner Bernstein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I move that we find LDC text amendment, section 27-149, pertaining to public notice in the event of an emergency declaration, consistent with the goals, policies, and objectives of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan, and that we refer that conclusion along to the Tampa City Council.
All right, Commissioner Buzzer?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion of consistency finding by Commissioner Bernstein, a second to that by Commissioner Buzzer. Any more questions or discussions from the commissioners on this item? Not seeing any, then I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote on this item.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Buzza?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Kress?
Yes.
Soria?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
All right, thank you. Next item up, 4B3, Section 27-149, changes related to public notice requirements, and the presenter is Emily Phelan.
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. This is Tampa Land Development Code text amendment change relating to public notice requirements. The request is to require the record or application number to be placed on the mailed and posted public notices, as that is not currently required. And Planning Commission staff reviewed it and found it consistent with streamlining the development review process and encourages citizens to become active participants in city government. And with that, Planning Commission staff recommends that the LDC text amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. And I will forward it to the staff now.
Good afternoon, Eric. Oh, sorry. Good afternoon, Eric Cotton. Which way am I going? Let's see, this way. So this, believe it or not, is actually not codified. It's on both the notice letter and on the sign to place the record number. We do get occasionally applicants who do not put it on the record, will not put it on either the notice or the sign, and their argument is, well, it's not required by code. So now we're going to attempt to require it by code. And that's the only change to that, is just, we've had people argue that we don't put it on there because it's not required. So this is just requiring it to be both on the sign and on the notice letter. Any questions for me?
All right, we didn't have anyone sign up for public comment on this item, so I will turn it over to commissioners. Is that a question, Commissioner Bowden, or are you still on from the vote? No. All right. Commissioner Bernstein?
I should know this. Thank you for the presentation, but I assume that if someone were to be deficient thereafter by failing to include a record number on the sign, that would make the notice defective, and then what? And then
They would have to renotice and go back and get bumped to another hearing down the line.
is there any plan in place to educate the public just in terms of this change? Because I assume there's at least a few applicants who may miss it otherwise. I'm just wondering.
Well, I mean, it's the space is actually on the notice letter and is on the sign, which I believe Emily showed the picture of. Not to jump ahead, but we're going to be coming back to you for the next cycle. We're proposing new signs, which will include a QR code, and the signs are going to be abbreviated a little bit more than they are now. But if somebody does not follow the code, they would be misnoticed. But I think it's pretty to me, it's self-explanatory when there's a space on a letter you fill out or on a sign that you should be putting in the record number.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, were there any other questions from the commissioners? Commissioner Soria?
One question. With the record number, like, it would be mandatory so the person who get notified, would they be able to just look it up easily on the website, or?
Yes, we actually, you have a slide for that, right? It shows it, let me go this way. I gotta look for it. Yeah.
The image?
Yeah, I was looking for, which way is it? So we have an online map. This is the current sign. I was looking for this, Stephen. You did like the notice map in here? I don't want to start pressing your buttons on here. Okay. So we have a online map that's available on our webpage. Try this way. On our webpage, is that showing up? No. Oh. So that you can go on to Land Development's webpage, and there's one for the building department too, where you can type in an address of the property, and it'll take you to an online map. And when you click on whatever the color happens to be you're looking for, it'll take you directly to Acela, and then from there you can go directly to the record. We can't go from the map directly to the Acela record yet, but we can get you right to Acela, and then you look it up. And that has the entire record in it. Everything that we touch is in Acela.
Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Are there any other questions or discussion items from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this point in time. I will go on ahead and close the public comment and open it up to the commissioners for motions on this item. Anyone? Commissioner Bernstein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I move that we find City of Tampa LDC proposed text amendment 27-149 in relation to changes related to public notice requirements consistent with the goals, policies, and objectives of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan, and that we refer that along to the Tampa City Council for their consideration.
All right. We have a motion of consistency finding by Commissioner Bernstein. Is there a second? Oh, Commissioner Fernandez.
I'll second.
All right. A second to that motion by Commissioner Fernandez. Any more discussions, questions from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this point in time. I'll go ahead and ask the clerk to do a roll call vote on this item.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Buzza?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Kress?
Yes.
Soria?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have 4B4, Section 27-211.6, Development Standards for Seminole Heights, Commercial General and Seminole Heights Commercial Intensive, and the presenter is Sam Thomas.
Okay, so this next one is development standards for Seminole Heights Commercial General and Seminole Heights Commercial Intensive uses or intensive zoning category. So currently in the in those Seminole Heights districts, the zoning district allows for building heights up to 55 stories, and this is a Scrivener's error. This request will correct that to 55 feet, which I think we all know it will be a bit more reasonable. Planning Commission staff reviewed this and found that it streamlines the development regulations, and that also that the comprehensive plan encourages the commercial development in character and scale with the general look and context of the history of the culture of the neighborhood. So with those considerations, Planning Commission staff recommends this Land Development Code text amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. And I will now turn it over to Eric. Yeah, you might not need the PowerPoint for that one.
Eric Cotton, City of Tampa. This will follow what Sam indicated. Right now, the code says 55 stories. I don't think it was ever the intent of the code to have 55-story buildings in Seminole Heights. The correct verbiage is 55 stories. Excuse me, 55 feet. So that's that's the text amendment that we're moving forward on that. Anyone have any questions for me?
All right. No one signed up in the public comment for this one, so commissioners, to you for any discussions or questions. Not seeing any. I will close public comment and open it up to motions. Commissioner Buzza.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to recommend that we find LDC Amendment 27-2116 consistent with the Comprehensive Plan Tampa and move forward to the Tampa City Council.
All right. Motion of consistency finding by Commissioner Buzza. Is there a second? Commissioner Bowden.
I second that motion.
All right. We have a motion of consistency, second by Commissioner Bowden. Any comments or questions from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this time. I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote on this item.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Buzza?
Yes.
Fernandez?
No. I'm pro scratch.
Kress?
Yes.
Soria?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carried 6-1. Commissioner Fernandez voted no.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have 4B5, Section 27238, Westshore Overlay District Development Standards, and the presenter is Danny Collins.
Danny Collins again with your Planning Commission staff. This is Tampa Land Development Code text amendment related to the Westshore Overlay District Design Standards. There are several components of this request. The request seeks to expand the street type categories. It updates parking standards. It incorporates bicycle treatments and clarifies buffer requirements. The request also exempts single-family homes from overlay requirements, and it also amends the open space requirements. The Planning Commission staff reviewed the request and found it consistent with several policies of the comprehensive plan. The request continues the ongoing coordination efforts with the Westshore Alliance. The request also supports policies that seek to improve the pedestrian experience through excellent urban design and will promote and help promote transit use by encouraging amenities such as benches, shade trees, water fountains, and other pedestrian amenities along major corridors. This will help improve the pedestrian experience. The request also supports policies that seek to reduce parking requirements and allow off-site parking where appropriate in the urban setting. And finally, it streamlines development regulations and ensure municipal codes are sensitive in meeting needs of Tampa's neighborhoods. Based on those considerations, the Planning Commission staff recommends that the proposed LDC text amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. This concludes my presentation. I'm going to turn it over to Eric Cotton.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Stephen Benson, City of Tampa. And just pull up the slides here. So this is a amendment to the Westshore Overlay District. The purpose of the amendment is to make several updates, including expanding the street type categories, the parking standards, incorporating bicycle treatments, and clarifying buffer requirements. The overlay district applies only to the commercial areas, so the major corridors and then the core business area, the business district itself. Based on the development trends in the area, the Westshore Alliance Master Plan Committee met and began the process of developing these recommendations back in 2019. The committee's recommendations were approved by the Alliance Board of Directors, and the Alliance packaged together this amendment and sent it to the city back in late 2022. There are 5 general areas that are being amended. There will be new street segments added to the city street classifications to require specific public realm improvements such as sidewalk, width, and shade trees. The streets that are being added are those new connections that are being built under I-275. So this will formalize what those classifications look like. They're generally going to mirror what the overlay currently says for the remainder of those segments that are already in the overlay. It's just those segments that go under 275 and connect from the north to the south are not currently codified. So those are being added. A new street type is being created for the Gray Street Bicycle Boulevard, which is the main bicycle connector from downtown to the Westshore Business District. That is based on a Mobility Department CIP project. So those design standards will be coming out of mobility, but we're adding it to the overlay now. The third item is clarification and flexibility are being added to some of the existing requirements. For example, some of the green space requirements at major intersections, the dimensions are specified as being a square. So what the Alliance is proposing is to amend that to provide flexibility for unique sites to provide a rectangle instead of a square as long as the floor area is the same. So we're not relaxing the requirements, but we're making it easier for development to comply. Also, as was mentioned, the reduced parking standards. If you're wondering what that equates to, it's being brought down to approximately 1 space per unit for residential. Parking depends upon the number of bedrooms, so it's difficult to give you an exact number, but it generally equates to 1 space per unit. Downtown, for instance, is at about 0.75 spaces per unit, so this amendment is basing the Westshore standards on the Ybor City parking standards. So not quite as low as downtown, but still lower than what is required today. And then the last amendment, this is to remove some of the requirements that were really meant for mixed use and commercial development, such as transparency and the amount of glass and transparent materials used on building facades, to provide an exemption for some of the single-family products that have been going in. So the detached single-family homes, as well as the townhouses and row houses, again, within the business district. So if they have a commercial zoning district, that's when this would really kick in. It's not meant to address the development back, like in the middle of Westshore Palms or in the middle of Carver City. So we have from the Westshore Alliance, Michael Marino here to say a few words about this. Again, this amendment came from the Alliance, so I'm going to hand it over to Michael to answer some questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Michael Marino. I'm the Executive Director of the Westshore Alliance. And just to give you a little bit of background, the overlay started in 2001. The Alliance working with the city. There's been 3 updates at that. Since then, the last update was in 2014. Stephen mentioned we started working on this in 2019 through our master plan committee. We actually have representatives from the city of Tampa and Hillsborough County planning staff who are participating in some of these meetings. The feedback actually, not only does it come from our members, but it's come from developers, but also residents in the neighborhood. So some of those changes to the residential code, even the size and mass of some of the buildings comes from what we've heard from residents over the last several years. So it's a way to incorporate development while also being sensitive to the neighborhood. And the one last thing I'll add to this with bullet point 1 right there, FDOT is building those projects to meet a standard that doesn't even exist yet. So what has happened with the interchange is that Rio, Ox, and Trask already look like streets in our overlay, even though those 3 streets are not currently in the overlay. So we've already started to incorporate these elements into the design of the streets underneath 275, as Stephen mentioned. And I'll take any questions if you have them.
All right, thank you. We had one person sign up in the public comment, but you've already spoken. So we will turn it over to the commissioners for questions or comments on this item before us. Commissioner Kress.
I'll just offer my comment of congratulations. I know that this has been a lot of work, and you've had great participation from your members, I think probably, and the residents, it sounds like. So congratulations. I think these are all the right moves as Westshore continues to urbanize.
All right. Are there any more questions, comments from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this time, then I'll close the public comment and open up the floor to motions on this item from the commissioners. Commissioner Buzza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move that we find section 27-238 of the LDC consistent with the Tampa Comprehensive Plan and forward on to the Tampa City Council.
All right. A motion of consistency finding by Commissioner Buzza. Do we have a second? Commissioner Bernstein.
Second that.
All right. Motion for consistency finding, second by Commissioner Bernstein. Any more discussion or comments from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this point in time. I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote on that item.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Buzza?
Yes.
Hernandez?
Yes.
Cross?
Yes.
Soria?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
All right. Thank you very much. Next up, we have item 4B6, section 27-283, electric vehicle charging, definition and parking requirements. And the presenter is Sam Thomas.
Sam Thomas. So this is electric vehicle charging. So this request, it introduces the definitions for parking electric vehicle capable and parking electric vehicle installed. And then additionally, this amendment will require all new developments with over 50 parking spaces to dedicate at least 5% of the proposed parking to parking electric vehicle capable. And I will let Eric get a little bit more into the definitions in case you guys have questions on those. But Planning Commission staff did review this. We found it consistent with streamlining development regulations, and we also found that it supports the policies that promote the use of low-emission vehicles, reducing the total number of vehicle emissions, and diversifying the fuel supply and using alternative energy technology. So with those considerations, Planning Commission staff recommends that the proposed amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. And I'll turn it over to Eric now.
this is leftover from Westshore. Okay. Is it a different PowerPoint? No, it's the same one. Same one, right? Yeah, okay. Not sure which way I go. Solid waste, EV, I think is the very, very end here. Otherwise I gotta pull this forward. Nope. We did not anticipate this being split up into individuals. We did one presentation for the entire process. Did I pass it? Oh, that's Courtyard. Hold on one sec, I apologize. So Eric Cotton, City of Tampa. This is an amendment to the code. Here we go. For electric vehicles, this was initiated by City Council about a year and a half ago. So the goal is to allow to require EV ready. So there's a difference between EV capable and EV installed. EV capable means the infrastructure is in the ground, but the actual charging station is not there yet. EV installed means it's in the ground and the chargeable state, the charger station is already in place. We're missing a slide. So as Sam was indicating, the goal is to basically have, for new development only, requires more than 50 parking spaces, 5% of those spaces, or 2 or 3 spaces, have to be EV capable, meaning as they're doing the construction, they should be putting in the infrastructure. So it's in place, so when the time is ready and they need the actual EV chargers to be in place, they don't have to dig up the ground and put in the infrastructure, it'll already be in place. That's it. Okay, sorry.
All
Any
right.
questions?
All right. We didn't have anyone sign up for the public comment on this item, so I'll turn it over to the commissioners for questions. Commissioner Seria.
I had 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
Is this for commercial and residential areas, or just commercial?
It's for all development that would require it. Not single family,
Okay.
single family, but if you're doing a multifamily development that has 200 units in and you need 200 parking spaces, then you would be required to put in the EV capable.
Okay. And second question, what led to 5%? Why not 10% or?
We looked at other ordinances around the state and around the country, and that seemed to be where we're at, was about 5%.
Okay.
So that's what we went with.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I was just wondering because looking at like the future, like a lot of car manufacturers are like completely stopping to manufacture cars down the road, like that would be internal combustion engine. So just 5% seemed a little bit on the low side. So just was wondering about that.
It just was the standard when we did it. That was at the average of what we looked at.
Oh, okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, they can always put in more, but the minimum is 5%.
Commissioner Fernandez.
Yeah, I'm just going to actually agree with my fellow Commissioner Seria there. I'm looking at an app I use to charge my car. There's 24 chargers in Channelside. There's 1 open right now. There's 0 available in Ybor out of the 10. You know, my second car will be electric. I just think 5 is way too low of a number, to the point that manufacturers are dropping combustion engines now. So I just wish it would be a bit higher.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Are there any more comments on this item or questions from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this point in time, I'll go on ahead and close the public comment on this item and open it up to motions from the commissioners on this item. Commissioner Buzza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move we find section L 27-283 of the LDC consistent with the City of Tampa Comprehensive Plan and forward on to the Tampa City Council.
All right. Motion of consistency finding by Commissioner Buzza. Is there a second out there anyway? Commissioner Bernstein.
Yeah, I'll second that.
All right. We have a motion of consistency finding by Commissioner Buzza, a second to that motion by Commissioner Bernstein. Any more comments from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this point in time. I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote on this item.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Buzza?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Crest?
Yes.
Seria?
Yes.
Joseph?
No.
Motion carried 6-1. Commissioner Joseph voted no.
Thank you. All right. Next item of business is 4B7, Section 27-288, solid waste. And the presenter is Danny Collins.
Danny Collins again with your Planning Commission staff. This is Tampa LDC text amendment related to solid waste. The request seeks to modify language to expand the dumpster corral gate width requirement from 10 feet to 12 feet. Planning Commission staff reviewed the request and found it consistent with several policies of the comprehensive plan. The request supports safe and efficient collection of residential and commercial solid waste, and the request supports policies that seek to streamline development regulations and ensure municipal codes are sensitive to meeting the needs of Tampa's neighborhoods. Based on those considerations, the Planning Commission staff finds the proposed LDC text amendment consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan. That concludes my presentation. I'll turn it over to Eric.
Good afternoon, Eric Cotton, City of Tampa. This is us. So this request was initiated by the Solid Waste Department for the City of Tampa. Again, it's for container enclosures, is to increase the interior measurements by a foot from 4 feet to 5 feet. And for containers, or for dumpster containers, to increase it for from 10 feet to 12 feet. This is for the measurement inside. What Solid Waste has found out as when they're doing collections, the dumpsters, people intend to put more things inside of a dumpster enclosure than are supposed to be there. And meaning there's excess, they use it for storage. They'll put pallets on the inside and stuff like that. This gives Solid Waste a little bit more space, plus as they're, for maneuverability of the vehicle to grab the thing and pick it up, they found out that at the 10 feet, they tend to bang on the sides a little bit as they're doing the maneuvering. This is a request. This only applies, of course, to new development, not existing dumpster enclosures and cart containers. Any questions?
All right, we didn't have anyone sign up in the public comment for this item, so I will turn it over to the commissioners for questions. I did have one question. If we make it wider, won't they just put more stuff in the space? I mean, I'm not
that's
against
a
it.
separate solid waste. They can do that enforcement. I'm not involved in that part of it.
Right. All right, not seeing any more lights for questions or comments, I will go ahead and close public comment on this item and open it up to motions from the commissioners on this item. Commissioner Bernstein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd move that we find LDC text amendment 27-288 pertaining to solid waste consistent with the goals, policies, and objectives of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan, and we pass it along to the Tampa City Council for their consideration.
Commissioner Buzza.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion of consistency finding by Commissioner Bernstein, a second to that by Commissioner Buzza. More comments from the commissioners? Not seeing any. I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote on that item.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Buzza?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Kress?
Yes.
Soria?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
All right, thank you very much. Next up, we have 4B8, Section 27, 290.1, fence height in residential zoning districts, and the presenter is Emily Phelan.
Emily Phelan, Planning Commission staff. This is Tampa Land Development Code text amendment relating to fence height in residential zoning districts. The request would allow for the maximum fence height in residential districts abutting commercial districts to be 8 feet. Currently, a residential property can only have a 6-foot high fence when it abuts commercial, while the commercial district on the other side can have an 8-foot fence, and the new language would allow the residential side to also have an 8-foot fence. Planning Commission staff reviewed it and found it consistent with multiple aspects of the comprehensive plan, streamlining development review process to keeping up with changing trends in Tampa's neighborhoods, and ensure commercial uses are buffered from residential uses. And with that, Planning Commission staff recommends that the proposed LDC text amendment be found consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of Tampa Comprehensive Plan. And I will pass it off to Eric.
Eric Cotton, City of Tampa. This is an amendment in the years in the making. When I started at the city, I always thought this was odd, and that's back when the city actually required at the time permits for some fences and walls. So as Emily was indicating right now, for a single-family home that's abutting a commercial zoning district, the commercial use could put up an 8-foot tall fence, but the residential district can only put up a 6-foot tall fence. So this is basically evening the playing field. So instead of having to seek what's now a design exception 1 to increase the height of a fence, this would allow it by right when you're abutting, when a residential use wants to put up a taller fence next to a commercial use. Commercial requirements, there's usually a requirement for a wall, but that only has to be 6 feet. This would allow the residential to get a little bit more privacy, more buffering from the commercial use adjacent to the site. Any questions for me?
Are there any Commissioner? Oh, actually, yeah, no one signed up in the public comment, so I'll turn it over to Commissioners. Commissioner Bernstein.
Maybe a silly question because I think I know the answer, but just out of curiosity, is there a reason why, from a policy perspective, we limit it at even 8 feet as opposed to say 10 feet? Is that for aesthetics to keep the fence line down?
I don't have an answer for that off the top of my head. Probably for aesthetics, because citywide, the highest you can go is 8 feet. That's even for commercial districts. If somebody were to seek something higher because the adjacent use, they could, at that point, when beyond the 8 feet, they could seek a design exception and justify why they needed the additional, foot or 2 feet or whatever they would be asking for. You're welcome.
All right, were there any more questions? Commissioner Bowden.
I just had a question in regards to the material. I saw in the picture that it was like a metal fence that can it be contiguous, not that no one can actually see through, or it doesn't matter?
That was just, I think, a photo the Planning Commission used for our fence. Fencing materials include concrete block walls, galvanized aluminum, and wood. All those could be used to. Well, I guess I can do that again. Sorry about that. I'll step back. Any of those other uses would be allowed. I mean, I imagine when you're adjacent to a commercial place, the person's going to want to put up a solid fence, PVC, wood, or whatever they want to put up there.
I know the PVC is pretty popular now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, were there any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Commissioner Orton.
What about in the front yard? Because I noticed that your code allows up to 3 feet. So if the commercial property is abutting the residential, what about the front? Can they have that 8-foot fence on their front if it's abutting commercial?
No, ma'am. If it's in the front yard, it would be across the street. So by now they're allowed a 3-foot solid fence, a 4-foot wrought iron, maybe with shrubbery. If they wanted to go taller than that, they would have to ask for a design exception, and we would evaluate that decision at that point.
Even if they're adjacent to commercial property?
Well, I don't think you wouldn't have a front yard.
Okay.
Adjacent, you wouldn't have a house facing, the front yard would not be directly adjacent to the bed, it would be across the street. Right. Well, that would be on a corner or on a side yard for the residential. That would allow the 8 feet too, I believe, the way the code has been amended. You could do an 8-foot tall fence when it's adjacent to it, that case. But when you get to the front, we would have to evaluate it in the individual circumstances whether they go to the 8 feet by right, or they'd have to ask for a design exception.
So the 8 foot's only allowed along the property line that is adjacent to the commercial property?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Are there any other questions or comments from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this point in time. I will go on ahead and close the public comment on this item and open it up to motions. Commissioner Fernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion to find the proposed text amendment relating to fence height in residential zoning districts consistent with the Tampa Comprehensive Plan and forward this recommendation to this Tampa City Council.
Commissioner Buzza.
I will second.
All right, we have a motion of consistency finding by Commissioner Fernandez. Second to that motion by Commissioner Buzza. Any more comments, discussions from the commissioners? Not seeing any. I will ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote on that item.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Buzza?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Kress?
Yes.
THEA?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have 4B9, Section 27-43, definition of a courtyard, and the presenter is David Hay.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. David Hay with your Planning Commission staff. The last City of Tampa LDC amendment this afternoon is the establishment of a definition for the word courtyard. Currently, there is no definition of courtyards within the Land Development Code, though courtyards have been referenced through the zoning process, and they are referenced in certain overlay districts. Again, this would establish a definition, and that definition is within your packet. Your Planning Commission staff did review the proposed text and found it consistent in two main areas of the comprehensive plan. One deals with the building orientation. This would further the policy direction of orienting doors within single-family attached and multifamily to the street or a non-vehicular area. We have had developments, rezonings that have used courtyards, and their entryway is actually into a drive aisle. So this would clarify that in the future. Also, there are, by establishing this definition, it does clarify, and everyone would be on the same page of what a courtyard actually is, because now it would have a definition. So based on that, your Planning Commission staff does recommend that you all approve and find this consistent with the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan. Thank you very much.
Is Mr. Cotton coming back for more?
And I'll promise not to hit this again, too. So, Eric Cotton, City of Tampa. Of our discussions of the text amendments that are moving forward, this is probably the one that generated the most discussion. And that is, as David was just indicating, we don't currently define what a courtyard is. And there are sections of our code that reference courtyards. They say in the supplemental regulation, it talks about specified uses, and it talks about when you're building townhomes and you can't fit, you're supposed to face a public street. But in the city, you get longer, deeper lots that are maybe 100 feet wide, 300 feet deep. To get any kind of density on there, people tend to line up the homes this way, and they have a driveway down the middle that provides the access. So what's happening with that is they ask for a waiver to that requirement, and historically, the zoning department has granted waivers when they create a small courtyard directly in front of the property, in front of the individual doorways. It met the intent of the code per the previous zoning administrator. For me, it doesn't quite meet that requirement, which is why we came forward with this text amendment. So I think, photos, picture's worth 1,000 words. As you can see in the photo above, the outline in green, that's a courtyard. To me, the buildings and go in, and they have doors facing an interior green area where neighbors interact with one another and stuff. What people will claim, there's another picture of the same site with the courtyard, is the stuff in red. You'll get developers that come in and say that's a courtyard, even though that's basically a driveway, but they have their front doors oriented, so you get the pedestrian vehicle conflict. I know Dave and I have had numerous discussions on this. How I grew up in a neighborhood that had no sidewalk, so I used to walk in the street to school and all. Now that I live in a neighborhood that does have sidewalks, completely different opinion on how great sidewalks are. This is not a courtyard, the stuff in red, that's outlined in red. So that's what we're trying to address, to say, no, if you're trying to build that and try to claim that's a courtyard, that doesn't meet the definition of a courtyard anymore. So we're now moving towards, if you want to do a courtyard, you want to do that kind of development, that's great, but you got to find another way to design it so you can have that, people can go out, avoid the cars, and get to the street to use the sidewalks that go around on the street. That's what this amendment's for. Do you have any questions for me?
All right, we had no one sign up in the public comment, so I'll turn it over to commissioners for questions or discussions on this item. I'm not seeing any lights, then I will go ahead and close public comment on this item and open it up to motions from the commissioners. Anyone? Commissioner Bernstein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I would move that we find LDC proposed text amendment, section 27-43, pertaining to the definition of a courtyard consistent with the goals, policies, and objectives of the Tampa Comprehensive Plan, that we pass that along to the Tampa City Council for their consideration.
All right, Commissioner Buzza.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion of consistency finding by Commissioner Bernstein, a second to that motion by Commissioner Buzza. Any more comments, questions from the commissioners? Not seeing any, then I'll ask the clerk to go ahead and do a roll call vote on that item.
Bernstein?
Yes.
Bowden?
Yes.
Buzza?
Yes.
Fernandez?
Yes.
Kress?
Yes.
Soria?
Yes.
Joseph?
Yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. All right. Next up, we have a whole bunch of briefings and presentations. All right. So we'll start off with 5A, HCCPA 23-05 Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, 10502 Sims Road, and the presenter is Bryce Farringer. My apologies if I
No,
messed
you
up the
got it.
last name.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Bryce Farringer with your Planning Commission staff. This is HCCPA 23-05 10502 Sims Road. This is a privately initiated small-scale map amendment located on approximately 16.89 acres, and the request is to change the future land use designation from suburban mixed-use 6 to residential 9. This is a general location of all of the April plan amendments. This site is located in the south central part of the county. It's within the limits of the urban service area and is also within the limits of the Riverview Community Plan as well as the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. The subject site is located directly north of Sims Road. It is slightly east of Brussels Boy Lane and west of South US Highway 301. Currently, there's a mix of single-family residential and agricultural uses on the subject site. Single-family uses extend to the north, west, and east as well. Public institutional uses are located directly adjacent to the southwest corner of the subject site. To the south, across Sims Road, there's a church as well as additional single-family uses. The adopted future land use designation of the site is suburban mixed-use 6. Residential 4 extends to the west and north. Suburban mixed-use 6 extends to the east, south, and further west as well. Further east across South US Highway 301 is the residential 6 future land use category. The proposed amendment would change the future land use designation of the site to residential 9. The proposal would allow for an increase in density as well as a change in the maximum non-residential development potential. Currently, the site's future land use designation of suburban mixed use 6 allows for the consideration of up to 101 dwelling units. FAR totals range from 0.25 to 0.5 depending on what the proposed use is, and that maximum calculation comes out to 367,864 square feet. The proposed change to residential 9 would increase the residential density to 152 units, and it would also introduce urban scale, neighborhood commercial, and general commercial uses that would still be subject to commercial locational criteria. Additionally, light industrial uses would no longer be allowed. That concludes my presentation, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions, comments from the commissioners on this one? Not seeing any, we'll thank you for the presentation and move on to our next item. 5B, HCCPA 23-06, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, 5135 Madison Avenue, and the presenter is Wally Gallard. Is that right?
It's Gallard, but it's all good.
Gallard.
No worries.
No problem.
A for effort.
Thank you.
2306. Yeah. All right. Good afternoon. My name is Wally Glart with Planning Commission staff, presenting on HCCPA 2306 5135 Madison Avenue. The nature of this request is privately initiated. It is a small-scale amendment. The site is approximately 39.16 acres in size, and the applicant is proposing to go from light industrial to heavy industrial. The subject site is within the urban service area. It is located in the southern portion of unincorporated Hillsborough County and within the limits of the Greater Palm River Community Plan and within the coastal high hazard area. The subject site is south of Madison Avenue, east of US 41, north of West Bloomingdale Avenue, and west of CSX railroad tracks. Existing uses within the site include vacant, light commercial, and heavy industrial. The surrounding area to the north is heavy commercial, light commercial, and light industrial, and to the east is agricultural uses. And to the west and south of the site, there are existing light and heavy industrial and vacant uses. The adopted future land use map designation of the subject site is light industrial. It is surrounded by light industrial to the north, east, south, and west, and there's existing heavy industrial future light land use category to the further west, and natural preservation further to the south and southwest. The comprehensive plan amendment is seeking to change the future land use map designation from light industrial to heavy industrial. Within both light and heavy industrial future land use categories, no residential uses are permitted, and both allow for potential maximum consideration of 0.75 floor area ratio and 1,279,357 square feet. Based on the information provided above on the slide, the proposed amendment would allow for the same density and intensity. However, it introduces the possibility for heavy industrial uses. Light and heavy industrial allow for the same typical uses. However, open storage does not count towards FAR in the heavy industrial future land use category. This concludes my presentation, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. All right. Are there any questions or comments from the commissioners on this one? Commissioner Bowden.
I have one quick question. I think you said at the end that you said something about storage.
Correct, yeah. Open storage? Yeah, no worries.
All right. Are there any more questions or discussions? Not seeing any. Well, thank you for the presentation and move on to our next item of business. 5C, HCCPA 23-07, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, Big Bend Road and Triple Creek Boulevard. The presenter is Jillian Massey.
Good afternoon. This is Jillian Massey with your Planning Commission staff. This afternoon I'll be presenting on HCCPA 23-07, which is Big Bend Road and Triple Creek Boulevard. Some background on this request is that it's a privately initiated small-scale map amendment located on approximately 9.68 acres, and the request is to go from residential planned 2 to residential 9. This is a general locator map for the April cycle of proposed comprehensive plan map amendments. 23-07 is located in the southeastern portion of unincorporated county in the rural area. It's within the limits of the Riverview and South Shore area-wide systems community plans. This is an aerial photo of the site outlined here in pink. It's located on the north side of Big Bend Road and west of Triple Creek Boulevard. Surrounding uses include single-family residential on all sides and a public school to the northeast of the site. This is the adopted future land use map for the subject site. It's currently vacant and classified as residential land. It's designated as residential planned 2, which allows for consideration of agricultural, residential, suburban scale neighborhood and community commercial, office uses, multi-purpose and clustered mixed-use projects. Non-residential uses are required to meet locational criteria for specified land uses, and the site is completely surrounded by residential plan 2 designation. This is the proposed future land use map for the site. The proposal is to change the land use from residential plan 2 to residential 9. The residential 9 designation allows for consideration of residential, urban scale neighborhood, commercial, office uses, multi-purpose projects, and mixed-use developments. And also non-residential uses are required to meet locational criteria. The slide outlines the potential impacts from changing the site from residential plan 2 to residential 9. Currently only 1 dwelling unit could be considered at a density of 1 dwelling units per 5 gross acres. The change to residential 9 would allow for consideration of up to 77 dwelling units at a density of 9 dwelling units per gross acre. And under the residential plan 2, up to approximately 105,000 square feet of non-residential development at a floor area ratio of 0.25 could be considered, or approximately 150,000 square feet with a planned village concept. The change to residential 9 would allow up to approximately 211 square feet of non-residential development at a floor area ratio of 0.50, or 175,000 square feet if developed as one unified development. The proposed amendment would introduce urban scale neighborhood commercial, whereas currently only suburban scale can be considered. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, thank you.
Any questions on this one? Comments from the commissioners? Not seeing any lights. Well, thank you for the presentation and move on to our next item of business. 5D, HCCPA 23-08, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, Armand Drive and Soccer Avenue. And the presenter is Jillian Massey again.
Okay, again, Jillian Massey with your Planning Commission staff. This is a presentation on HCCPA 23-08, Armand Drive and Soccer Avenue. Some background on this request is that it's a privately initiated small-scale map amendment located on 3 folios that total approximately 41.14 acres. There are 3 different land use designations, public/quasi-public, residential 4, and residential 6, and the proposal is to change all 3 to residential 9. This is the general locator map that you've seen before. 23-08 is located in the western portion of unincorporated county and is in the urban service area. It's within the limits of the Town and Country Community Plan, and it's also partially located in the coastal high hazard area. This is an aerial photo of the site where you can see the parcels outlined in pink. It's located east of Hanley Road and Armand Drive, and the 3 parcels are located on the north and south side of Soccer Avenue, and all 3 parcels are currently vacant. Surrounding uses include single-family residential on all sides, and a public school and public park are located immediately adjacent to the site. The Veterans Expressway is located to the east, and there are a couple of townhome and condo developments located to the west of the site. This is the adopted future land use map for the site. It's currently designated, or it's made up of 3 different designations, which I mentioned earlier: residential 4, residential 6, and public/quasi-public. It's surrounded by residential 4 to the north, suburban mixed use 6 to the east, and public/quasi-public and residential 6 to the south, and there is some residential 20 to the west. This is the future proposed land use map for the subject site, and the proposal is to change the 3 parcels to residential 9. The residential 9 designation allows for consideration of residential uses, urban scale neighborhood commercial, office uses, multi-purpose projects, and mixed use developments. And non-residential uses shall meet established locational criteria. This slide outlines the potential impacts from changing the site from the 3 designations to residential 9. Currently, the combination of the 3 land use designations would allow for consideration of up to 193 dwelling units and approximately 450,000 square feet of non-residential development. The change to residential 9 would allow consideration of up to 370, and that's an error on my slide, I apologize, dwelling units and approximately 900,000 square feet of non-residential development. There are square footage limitations if all 3 folios are developed under one planned development. And the proposed amendment would introduce urban scale neighborhood commercial, whereas currently only suburban scale can be considered. And that concludes my presentation if you have any questions.
All right, were there any questions on this one? Discussion items from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this time. Well, thank you for the information.
Thank you.
And move on to our next agenda item. 5E, HCCPA 2309, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment 1005 North Kingsway Road, and the presenter is I'm just going to say Bryn. I'm not even going to try the last name.
And then I have to turn the microphone on. Good afternoon. Bryn Dauphiné with your Planning Commission staff. I'm here to discuss HC CPA 2309 at 1005 North Kingsway Road. The request is a privately initiated small-scale amendment on approximately 14.47 acres, all on one parcel. The applicant is requesting to go from residential 4 to residential 9. The site is in the eastern part of the unincorporated county. It is located within the Seffner Mango Community Plan as well as within the urban service area. As you can see here, the plan amendment site is in the northeast quadrant of the intersection of East US Highway 92 and North Kingsway Road. Directly to the west across from North Kingsway Road is Burnett Middle School. To the north of the school is Higginbotham Park, and to the south of the school are some light commercial uses. Further in the northwest corner, you can see I-4, which the amendment site is currently vacant and surrounded by residential uses to the northeast and south. The site is currently designated as residential 4 with public/quasi-public to the west, residential 1 in the corner, up in the north corner, and residential 4 designations surrounding it. The applicant is requesting to change the designation to residential 9. The existing residential 4 category allows for up to 57 dwelling units. There is a Scrivener's error on page 2 of the briefing report where it says 97 dwelling units, but the correct number is actually 57. Staff will ensure that that is corrected when the plan amendment report is provided to you all next month. For the residential 4 designation, suburban scale non-residential uses such as neighborhood commercial, office, or mixed-use projects were permitted. Under the residential 9 category, up to 130 units would be permitted, increasing both density and intensity. The designation would also introduce urban scale uses, though all non-residential development that exceeds 0.35 FAR, floor area ratio, must be for office or residential support uses. That concludes my presentation, and I am available for any questions.
Thank you. All right. Were there any questions or discussion items from commissioners on this one? Not seeing any lights. Well, thank you for the information.
Thank you all.
Move on to our next item. 5F, HCCPA 23-10, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment, 17438 Dorman Road, and the presenter is Carla Llanos.
It is also known as 17438 Dorman Road. This is a privately initiated small-scale comprehensive plan map amendment on 4.2 acres in size. The request is from residential 2 future land use category to residential 4. The general location of this plan amendment is on the eastern side of the Hillsborough County jurisdictional line. It is located within the South Shore area wide systems and within the urban service area. The subject site is located within proximity to the Fishhawk community. As you see on the screen, the Fishhawk community is located to the east. It is composed of a mixture of all different types of residential, single-family residential uses and different lot sizes. This property is outside of that Fishhawk community. It's not within it. To the east of the property, you do see a large utility easement. It does have frontage as well as on Dorman Road, and then you do have east and north of that utility easement right next to the property is mostly single-family residential lots and agricultural uses. The adopted future land use is residential 2 future land use category. This allows you 2 dwelling units an acre or up to 0.25 floor area ratio. As you can see on the screen, the area is mostly composed of residential 2 and residential plan 2, as well as residential 1 future land use categories. The applicant is requesting to go to residential 4. Now, in general, the densities, more intense densities are located within that Fishhawk community, which is designated as residential plan 2. However, they do have clustered developments, as we all know from Fishhawk. And you do have smaller lot sizes within proximity to the site that may be compatible with or typical of that residential 4 category. So we're still under the analysis stage. Now, under the existing impacts, it does produce 8 dwelling units or 45,000 square feet of non-residential use. Under the proposed, you do have a capability up to 16 dwelling units or 45,000 square feet of non-residential use. As you can tell that the non-residential component stays the same. Now, overall, it just adds more density to the subject site. And that's it. I will answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions or discussion items from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this point, we'll thank you for the information and move on to our next agenda item. 5G, HCCPA 23-11, Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment 15908, Westlake Drive, and the presenter is Sophia Garantiva.
Good afternoon. Sophia Garantiva, Planning Commission staff, here to present on HCCPA 23-11, 15908 Westlake Drive. This is a privately initiated small-scale plan map amendment consisting of 3 parcels totaling approximately 20 acres in size. The applicant is requesting to go from a split future land use of Waimama Village Residential 2, WVR2, and Residential 4, Res 4 to Res 4 in its entirety. The site is generally located to the north of the intersection of State Road 674 and Westlake Drive. It's within the urban service area. It's also within the Waimama Village Community Plan, and it's generally located to the south of the county. The aerial photograph shows the site outlined in pink on the east side of Westlake Drive. There's currently a single-family home, a mobile home on the southernmost parcels, and on the northernmost parcels, the parcel is vacant. It's also surrounded by residential, vacant, and agricultural uses. As previously mentioned, the adopted future land use of the site is split between Res 4 and WVR2. Res 4 allows for the density of up to 4 dwelling units per acre, and suburban scale neighborhood commercial office uses and multi-purpose projects. WVR2 allows for 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres with the consideration up to 2 dwelling units per acre. Agricultural and residential support uses may be also considered. Both allow up to a 0.25 floor area ratio, FAR, unless otherwise limited by specific policies. And some additional background on the proposed amendment. In 2007, the urban service area boundary was expanded, and these parcels were brought into the urban service area. At the time, the future land use designation was not changed, and the property owners were later given the option to decide which future land use designation to change to. So the property owners are now exercising that option. As such, the property owner, again, is requesting future land use designation of Res 4 for the entirety of the site. The proposed amendment would increase the residential development potential from 14 dwelling units up to 80, with the maximum potential commercial intensity remaining the same at about 200,000 square feet. And this concludes my presentation. I'm available for any questions.
All right. Are there any questions or comments from the commissioners on this item? Not seeing any. We'll thank you for the information. Move right along to our next item of business. 5H, HCCPA 23-12 Comprehensive Plan Map Amendment 7035 Temple Terrace Highway. And the presenter is Carla Llanos.
Thank you. Yeah, that's right. It's HCCPA 23-12. So as Commissioner just stated, it's 7035 Temple Terrace Highway. This is a privately initiated small-scale comprehensive plan map amendment. It has approximately 13.2 acres in size. The request is going from residential 9 to residential 20 future land use category. Now the Location of this site, it's in Northern County. This is in the East Lake Orient Park Community Plan, and it's within the urban service area. And the subject site has frontage on Temple Terrace Highway. I'm going to point to it, but right to the north, you do have a college campus. So there's quite a little bit going on in this area. You have a pretty large college campus, and there's a portion of it also that is on the west side of the Hillsborough River, which is probably a good half a mile away from the subject site. But I guess they have a portion that they're developing, or they're continuing to develop, which is north of this. Now, over to the northeast corner of the subject site, you do have some general commercial uses. You have like a gas station, some other conveniences, neighborhood general commercial uses. Further to the northeast, you do have a newly platted subdivision, or that's under development, or is getting close to the development stage. Now, to the south of the property, you do have multifamily. So this property is actually the northern part, but it encompasses the entire back portion, which already has multifamily in it. Again, the request is to increase that density so they can accommodate for more units towards the front. You do have single-family homes directly to the south of the property. You also have single-family to the east and to the west of the subject site. So overall, you have a combination between neighborhood commercial uses, some residential support, and then single-family uses, along with a small pocket of multifamily. Now, the adopted future land use category is residential 9. As you can see on the screen, there's quite a little bit going on here. You do have two different jurisdictions at the current moment within proximity to the site. So you have Temple Terrace, and then you have unincorporated Hillsborough County. In Temple Terrace, you do have residential 18. You have natural preservation. You have commercial, office, institutional, public, semi-public, residential 4, residential 9. So you have quite a bit of a mix there. On the unincorporated side, you have just basically two categories. You have the residential 9 and the res 12. The request is to go to residential 20. So with that, you are increasing a bit more of density within that area. If we were to consider any of the categories within Temple Terrace, even though we're in unincorporated, it's relatively a difference, because you're going from 18 dwelling units to 20. And then in the unincorporated side, we have the maximum density ratio there is 12 dwelling units. The impacts, under the existing, you have 118 dwelling units and a potential for 287,000 square feet of non-residential use. For the proposed, you do have a potential for 264 dwelling units and potential for 431,000 square feet of non-residential use. That non-residential use component does have a cap. There is a cap for the retail or the general commercial uses. Those are capped at 175,000 square feet or less. So with that being said, I will glad to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commissioners, comments, discussions on this one? Not seeing any, we'll thank you for the presentation and move on to our next agenda item. 5I, proposed bylaws amendment, applicant in-person attendance provision, and the presenter is Melissa Zornita.
Good afternoon, Melissa Zornita, Executive Director. As you all discussed at your retreat and then at the last regular meeting on May 8th, Mr. Robbins assisted in preparing a draft bylaws amendment that would add in a section about physical attendance being required for applicants or their designated representative at the meetings where the matter is under consideration. It does require that if they do not comply with the attendance requirement, they would automatically be continued to the next meeting. If it's a plan amendment and that continuance doesn't allow for sufficient time for it to continue in the cycle of amendments that they're in, then they would be continued to the next cycle. That assists with us coordinating your bylaws with the procedures manuals for the plan amendments. In addition, Mr. Robin noted that under section 6.0 of attendance, it was not, for you all as members of the commission, it was not clear, given the new hybrid environment, that attendance was intended to be physically attending the meetings. So that clarification was added as well. At this time, there's no action required. Bylaws amendments must be shared at one meeting, which is this one, and the next meeting in July. There'll be a vote. It has to be approved by a 2/3 majority vote. That's all I have. Happy to answer any questions.
Dun, dun, dun. All right. Are there any questions or discussion items from the commissioners? Commissioner Bernstein.
So two real quick questions, and Counselor, thank you for putting time into it. It looks very well worded to me. I assume, number one, if for whatever reason it doesn't carry 2/3 majority, then we would default back to the existing process until such time as another measure is put on?
That's correct. The amendment would fail to pass, so the bylaws would remain in their existing form.
Thank you. And the other question, it's really more of an observation, I guess, but and for what it's worth, I think it's a welcome approach. It says whether publicly or privately initiated, the applicant or, as opposed to and, or designated representative. So the concept is it could be one or the other. We're not compelling both. Is that the concept?
Yes, many times the applicant might be the actual property owner, but they're represented by legal counsel, for example. So, and the property owner may not be the one who really needs to appear, but their counsel or engineer might want to.
I mean, I only bring it up because that seems like maybe a more reasonable approach, a little less stringent, I guess, than requiring them both.
Yes, and the last part of the section talks about the applicant's ancillary consultants and/or other representatives being able to participate virtually. So if they have, as we discussed, their transportation consultant just sort of on call in case you all have questions, that person doesn't necessarily have to attend in person, but somebody has to be here physically to kind of be the traffic controller to say this is who should answer that question on behalf of the applicant.
And then one last, I guess more of an observation, but just want to confirm I'm reading it right. So 6.0 is not underlined because that's not a change except for the two physically. Is that, was that more for clarification, or what was the purpose there?
Well, the intent of the board in its most recent discussions has been, and there have been some issues, as you know, with physical attendance since COVID. The intent of the board, as Melissa and I have understood it, is that the board desires the members to attend physically. We certainly need the quorum to do business. So the addition of those two words was intended to emphasize the need for physical attendance.
So today, what does it say? Are expected to attend, but the
Just delete those two words.
Well, it's actually, I think, just one word that's being added. The two is erroneously underlined because I believe its members are expected to attend all meetings.
Thanks for all the clarification.
Sure.
Appreciate it.
I had a question. None of this precludes us from still allowing, if a applicant has some sort of special circumstance, the board can still make a motion to allow them to appear.
That's correct.
Okay.
As long as you have the quorum.
Right. Okay. All right. Are there any other questions or discussion items from the commissioners? Not seeing any. We'll thank you for the information and look forward to it next month.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Next up, we have 5J, discussion of the executive director's evaluation, and the presenter is Megan Boturney.
Good afternoon, Board. Megan Boturney, Planning Commission staff. So in response to the Planning Commission's request to look at the Executive Director's evaluation, we went and looked and procured different evaluations from around the county for leadership, and then evaluated which ones may be most helpful to us and in this discussion. So attached, you should see the evaluations used for the Transportation Planning Organization Executive Director, the Environmental Protection Commission, or EPC Executive Director, and the County Administrator. They all still vary in length, as does, and differs from the one that also we're currently using for Ms. Zornita's. As you can see, the EPC's is really much shorter, but the others are a little bit longer. Also, you could see there's a trend where a few of them allow for comments or more the ability to explain or say, this is why I rated this. So also, as we roll out a new strategic plan and it's being formulated over the summer, those components will also be incorporated into a draft of a new evaluation, which we will bring forward to you in the fall for your review. So the recommended action is to provide me, the HR manager, with a direction on what in particular you would like to see incorporated into a new executive director evaluation. Thank you.
All right. So it sounds like we're going to have some discussion here about what we think should go forward, what we think should change based on what we saw in the packet. Anybody have any major comments or insight? Commissioner Bernstein?
Just trying to apply my employment lawyer experience to this a little bit. I only speak for myself, but I feel like we should strive for the right balance of, for lack of a better word, white space and objectivity in any form we look at. And you know, to your credit, thank you for supplying these. There's a pretty broad spectrum to look at and consider. Personally, I like to have at least the availability to render personal comments, but I think I seem to recall maybe there are a few comments at the last meeting, maybe particularly from newer board members, that, you know, if it's predominantly white space, we sometimes lack the guidance to really properly evaluate what's expected of someone in this role. So those are just observations, but I feel like that's probably going to guide my thinking as I look at each of these options, because you've got, looks like, some very good samples ranging in page size from about 5 to 19. That's a considerable spectrum there. But thank you for putting it together.
Of course, and we've also noticed, and we'll present this probably in the fall, but we are considering putting together a packet for you. I know in the past they've presented on what Ms. Zornita has done towards the strategic plan, but also we will be providing more of possibly a new format that would allow for online use so that it may be easier for you to fill in. That way we could also provide links to presentations, to the results of our employee engagement survey, any other important metrics, links to Ms. Zornita's job description. So also, and then also supply a sort of letter or self-evaluation type from Ms. Zornita to help. I think that was also in response to some of the comments of wanting some more resources to feel more comfortable while the commission is preparing their ratings. So please know we are considering those as well.
Commissioner Fernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, to expand on that, it's true. Some of us commissioners, we were talking about it last time at the retreat. There's just some things that I don't think it's fair for us to answer, like citizen relations, for example. I'm not really sure, I shouldn't be evaluating something if I'm not really part of that. So it was just it made it difficult for us to sort of comment on some of these things when we may see her at retreats, we see her here, communicate with her, but maybe not enough to be evaluating some of these items. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Fernandez. Commissioner Buzza.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to kind of put my 2 cents in, and I understand some of the sentiments of the board here. Some of the things that are on our current form are subjective, clearly, especially. But let me use the example of the employee section. Mrs. Zornita is providing supervision leadership to the planning staff. Having her folks up here doing presentations, you should be able to pick up whether she's managing those folks well or not, just because either they're prepared or they're not, that they've gone through their packages, that they've cited the right references. So that part, I think, is clearly it's a subjective discussion or decision on each one of the commissioners, but I think that's valid. In our old form, I had no problem with that. The outside entities like citizens, yes, I have no idea how those interactions occur other than when they're here in our room. But I think I was the only one that didn't have a problem with the old form, but that was just me. But I think some of these are going to be subjective. We're not going to know everything as part-time commissioners. We don't work in this building. We're not going to see people at coffee break. We're not going to see citizens coming in. So we do have to make a subjective decision at some point based on what comes into this room, staff that comes into this room, citizens that have interacted with their staff that come into this room. I think the worksheet will be, maybe we can improve on it, but it's not going to be perfect. So we'll still have to be subjective at some point and judge it off of what is presented to us as commissioners from her staff and the citizenry. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Buzza. Good comments. I think Commissioner Soria had a comment before, so let me get him before you, Commissioner Bowden. Come to you next.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. One suggestion I had was, as Commissioner Fernandez mentioned out, some of the topics we are not able to comment on, so it would be good maybe to have like a not applicable, that we think it's not applicable under our judgment to judge on that, so maybe we can just take that. And one question I had is based on comments, like if we put a comment, like for us as well to understand, like how is that evaluated, like as per the HR, like is that something that could be added on the form, like how much weightage does those comments has, or are those passed along as well?
Sure. I don't foresee necessarily a scoring of the comments, but it's really a way to clarify maybe what your motivation was for, or your reasoning why you gave a certain rating. And then that would help Ms. Zornita in her, as she tries to improve or leverage something that she's already doing really well. That way, it also just gains insight too as we go to formulate goals for the next year. Oh, well, this is something that we really need to, that the commission wants to see improve, because if you just see oh, all right, you're getting a 3 or a 4, well, you don't know why, or if there's something that needs to be improved and you just put a 2, we don't really have as much of an idea as to why, what is it that you're seeing. Maybe you're seeing staff, I don't know, consistently unprepared all of a sudden coming in front of you, and so you rate Ms. Dornita too. Well, then you can cite that specifically.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Bowden.
Thank you. I like the idea that you mentioned about adding different links and things like that, because, and just on the thing about citizens' relationship or something, sometimes there are photographs where you're out in the community, something like that can be captured, and then you click on it, you can see that. Another thing I think was helpful, would have been helpful for me as well, seeing the job description as a part of the the packet. That way I understand exactly when I'm going down there saying these are the things. Oh, yep, I've seen this, I've observed this thing. It's kind of tough to rate something if you don't know that is the job description. But I think adding different activities that has happened and different things that are done, that we can go back and look at those and then evaluate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Any more comments or questions? I did want to also follow on with Commissioner Bowden. I agree also. I think that the links and then Ms. Zornita making some sort of statement are two things that really stood out to me that were important, that would go really far in our process if we got those things in there. So those are really great ideas. Thank you. Were there any more comments or questions, input to give from the commissioners? Not seeing any at this time. I think you've wrung us dry. So we'll thank you and look forward to hearing more about this when it comes back.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening.
All right. And next up, we have item 6, Executive Director's Report.
Hey, good afternoon again. Melissa Zornita, Executive Director. At your seats, you should see the Executive Director's Report. On the front side, we have a list of some of the activities. Many relate to the updates of the county's comprehensive plan and the city's comprehensive plan in terms of meetings with county and city staff on different elements that are moving forward. We're sort of in the thick of public involvement on the county's future land use element update. So there are a number of meetings related to that as well. A couple of things I wanted to highlight in addition to that. We had a good meeting with FDOT on the coordination of the Fowler Avenue PD&E with the vision study that you saw a presentation on last week, trying to, as they're starting to formulate some recommendations, making sure those align together. We had a great meeting with Ms. Orton and her team on the update of the public schools facilities element, which is one of the last ones for the county's plan, and beginning work on that. We also have kicked off with the Technical Advisory Committee the Valrico Community Plan, which will be a new community plan for the unincorporated county. And at the end of the month, we had a work session with Forward Pinellas staff talking about they are sort of our equivalent in Pinellas County. They serve as the MPO and their long-range planning agency, and talking about some of the work they've been doing, how we can collaborate on, in particular, the changes related to the potential of a regional MPO. On the back side of the page, it's growing longer, this report. We have some reminders that on Friday morning is our strategic planning retreat at the Firefighters Museum, and I believe Sharon will be sending out directions for that tomorrow morning to you all. It's just a couple blocks from here, but just in case anybody doesn't know where it is, you'll have a map. We anticipate that being wrapped up by about 11:30, so appreciate your attendance at that. Our next meeting will be July 10th, and as you could see from our number of briefings, we will have quite a lengthy public hearing that evening. I added, we're starting to standardize the plan amendment updates, and I thought it might be easier than my trying to read them and you remember off the top of your head where that was for you to see it in writing. So these are items that either have had an action by the local government or one is upcoming in basically the next month or so. So have that broken out by jurisdiction. I did have a couple of updates relating to contracts. As you all may recall, for the Fowler study, we have a contract with Kimley Horn and Associates for that vision plan. As part of their proposal to us, they proposed utilizing the University of South Florida's architecture and community design group to do some of the outreach. Unfortunately, Kimley Horn and USF as a sub-consultant were unable to reach a contractual agreement amongst themselves. So what we have decided to do, because we still want to utilize USF, and they've already done some of the work while this disagreement was being played out, is that we are pulling out $26,500 from Kimley Horn's contract and contracting directly with USF for that same amount, so that they can do the outreach work and get paid for the work that they've already done. So there will be no increase to Kimley Horn's. It'll be a decrease to their contract, and then we will be signing a new contract with USF for that same amount. So overall, there'll be no increase in the amount of funding for the project. The last thing that I wanted to cover in my report is the summary of bills that was attached to the executive director's report. It's pretty lengthy this year for those who've been around with Diane providing this each year. This year's is 22 pages because there is quite a bit of substantive legislation that relates to planning. And I wanted to make you all aware of a number of those bills. The Live Local Act, Senate Bill 102, has gotten a lot of attention. And there are a lot of provisions to it that I'm not the expert on, but one provision that is important for us to understand is that there is a preemption of local government's requirements regarding zoning, density, and height to allow streamlined development of affordable housing, affordable multifamily rental housing in commercial, industrial, or mixed-use zoned areas. So if an area is currently zoned commercial or industrial or mixed use, and a development comes in and says they will provide at least 40% of the residential units as affordable, as defined in statute, they can skip the plan amendment, the rezoning, and go straight to developing. The density will be capped at the maximum, the highest allowed density of the jurisdiction. So for example, in the unincorporated area, that would be 35 units per acre. In the city of Tampa, that would be 100 units per acre. So it's just something to be aware of, because you might see some development pop up and say, wait, how did that happen? That's an industrial area. We didn't see a plan amendment. Well, you wouldn't have to if they meet these requirements. The next one that I wanted to point out is Senate Bill 1604, related to land use and development regulation. This updates the planning periods for the comprehensive plan, requiring that we plan for a minimum of 10 years and a 20-year planning horizon. And it sort of reframes some of the requirements related to the 7-year evaluation and appraisal process. That process had been slimmed down considerably from what it used to be 15 years ago. We used to have a whole evaluation and appraisal report that was required. That got reduced to a letter, but the new aspect is that if you do not have, if your plan, when you write that letter, doesn't comply with the planning period, for example, the unincorporated county's plan's future land use elements horizon is 2025, so it does not currently have a horizon complying with state statute, then there are certain things that would go into place in terms of limitations on doing plan amendments until you get your plan in accordance with statute. Let's see, Senate Bill 540 deals with if there's a challenge to the comprehensive plan or a plan amendment, that the prevailing party is entitled to recover attorney's fees and costs, including reasonable appellate attorney fees and costs. So for example, the county does have one plan amendment under administrative challenge. The RP2 land use category changes still are under challenge for, I think we're going on almost 2 years of that. If the challenger was to prevail, they potentially could have to be, the county would have to cover those attorney's costs. There's a bill, Senate Bill 170, that talks about producing a business impact estimate when passing any new ordinance, with some exceptions, but that may be something that you see particularly as it relates to the land development code items that come before you all. As I mentioned, I think previously, portions of both House Bill 425 and House Bill 1305 dealt with the issue of merging the MPOs, and specifically in the Tampa Bay area, it calls for that by December 31st of this year, the MPOs of Hillsborough, Pasco, and Pinellas must submit a feasibility report to the governor, President of the Senate, Speaker of the House, exploring the benefits, costs, and process for consolidating into a single MPO. So that's something that we're working with the TPO staff on, as there are implications for the agency as a whole. Senate Bill 250, related to natural emergencies, was one that wasn't on our radar for most of the session, but has a pretty impactful provision in it. It prohibits counties and municipalities within 100 miles of the landfall of Hurricane Ian, which includes all of the 4 local governments that we serve, are prohibited from proposing or adopting more restrictive or burdensome procedures or policies into their comprehensive plans or land development regulations. So until October 1st, 2024. So what that means is all of the updates to the comprehensive plans that we're working on are going to need to be reviewed through that filter as to whether or not they are proposing something that is more restrictive or burdensome. And we've had discussions already with the county attorney's office and city attorney's office about that. The county attorney's office is already, because we're a little further along with their land use element, actively reviewing some of those sections and has identified at least one where we need to take a look at some of the language because we were proposing something new and that could be perceived as being more restrictive or burdensome. So we're looking at that, and we do not want to put our local governments in jeopardy of violating state statute. So we'll be modifying what is proposed in the update accordingly. And I think that's the last one that I wanted to highlight. If you have specific questions on any of the pieces of legislation, if I'm not able to answer them, I'm happy to get them to Diane and get you an answer back, because there's a lot in here. She looks at a lot of transportation things on behalf of the agency as well as environmental and issues that might relate to the River Board's work also. So with that concludes my presentation.
All right, very informative. Commissioner Bernstein.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, a lot going on. I had really one question, and then you touched on it, I think, a little bit when you give a legislative update. There's an entry on the first page of the Executive Director's report for May 25th, which is a deposition in the county lawsuit. And I only note it because it's been a little while, I think, since we've had any discussions about the status of that litigation in this room. And I'm assuming probably because it's been dormant for a while, but should we take that, and I can direct this to our counselor as well, as an indication perhaps that things are beginning to move forward again in that litigation?
This is actually a different piece of litigation.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Against the county, where there's some contention that the Keystone Community Plan has not been followed. And so I've been asked to serve as a witness in that case as an expert on the community plan and comprehensive plan. So it's not actually something that we're a party to. We're just, as always, helpful to our clients in any way that we can be. As it relates to the lawsuit that we were a party of, that has been dormant, and there was a piece of it, because there were several cases that were all connected, that I hadn't heard from Carlton Fields in a while, and then I got an email from them indicating that a hearing had been deferred out at later again. So not a lot of progress to report on that. The administrative appeal of the RP2, it's probably been 6 months or more since the administrative hearing officer ruled in support of the county, but that has been appealed and is awaiting that process.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right, thank you. I had that same question. I saw a deposition down there. I was like, what's going on now?
Yeah.
The other thing that I had questions on the opposite end of the page is May 10th, Pine Key discussions with Hillsborough County Development Services and applicants. What happened there? What was that all about?
Well, the applicants for Pine Key have some new representation, and so we've been, we had one meeting, we're working on scheduling another one. We had drafted some a revision to the category to make it Pine Key specific and further restrict some of the activities there at the direction of the Board of County Commissioners, and are still talking with the applicant as well as a number of the review agencies. We've had some productive meetings with EPC, the port. There's a group that represents the pilots associated, the port pilots, not the airplane pilots, but the port pilots, and they've now suggested that we bring in the Army Corps of Engineers. It's becoming more complicated instead of less, I'll just say that. So there continues to be a lot of discussions.
Okay, so the saga continues.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I had one more question also, May 18th, strategic expansion focus. I'm assuming that's the USA that's being talked about there.
Yes, we've had some meetings with the county staff. I think this was the second of those meetings. We also met with Commissioner Owen to brief him, because his district is the one that's most of the focus of this discussion is on. What we've been discussing with county staff is developing policy that addresses when, where, and how to strategically expand the urban service area. So laying out a process for that to occur, and in the how category, establishing essentially a master planning process, much like Plant City did for the Northeast Master Plan, to have sort of a clear roadmap over, like, whatever area we decide, direction we decide to expand in, we need to have a plan for how not only is the development going to occur, but the infrastructure is going to be built in terms of corridors that need to be preserved and built, school sites, all of those types of things. So that's what we're looking at including in the update of the future land use element, is a set of policies that address how, when, where, and how, and what might be some of the criteria for answering the where question. You know, size of the area, proximity to certain, like an interstate highways or major roadways, not maybe in the middle of nowhere type of, criteria, or some of what, not being proximate to sensitive environmental features, things like that.
All right.
And I should mention, since you were interested in the deposition, David and the CPPR team are often called in to mediations and depositions related to zoning cases as well. So I don't list all of those, but they are in support. In particular, there have been a couple lately for the city of Tampa that they've been involved in. So just so you know, that's happening as well.
Thank you. All right. Did you have another comment? Commissioner Fernandez.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry to go back to Pine Key.
That's okay.
But I'm curious because I remember we had approved the island recreation, I thought, and then I think I saw a bunch of comments by the Hillsborough County Commissioners. It didn't get one vote from them, I think, and they were talking about the size of a possible structure. So is that sort of what's hanging things up?
Yeah. So in October of last year, the Board of County Commissioners heard that island recreation. There were a couple of concerns. One, they didn't like that it could apply to other islands besides just Pine Key. They felt Pine Key was unique and needed its own category specific to it. They were uncomfortable with I think we had 10,000 square feet for a structure, felt that was too large. And we're concerned that some of the activities were more active as opposed to passive recreational activities. Then the election in November happened, and the composition of the Board of County Commissioners changed. And in February, we brought back a report to the new Board of County Commissioners at the request of Commissioner Owen, who had an interest in it, saying this is where we've been, kind of, this is the journey we've been on. Here's where we're at. If you want to give us some different direction, and they had a number of public safety concerns that were raised there, and raised by some of the county agencies. In addition, it was raised that by the Pilots Association that they had gotten requests from folks, from the Pine Key owners, to change shipping routes because of interference with the recreational activities. And from an economic development standpoint, there was a lot of concern on the part of the board about that. So they continued in the direction of trying to limit the activity on the island. But now the owners have new representation who I think are perhaps interested in a different path and looking at some different things that we want to make sure we're covering all the bases, and that that what we're writing is on target with the actual concerns of those other reviewing agencies. We've heard concerns about the what's been dredged and filled on the island, having some environmental contaminants in it. So there are a number of things that keep emerging on this. Yeah, sure.
Thank you. Very interesting. All right. Were there any other questions or comments on her report, the Executive Director's report? Not seeing any. Well, thank you for the information.
Thank you.
And move on to our next agenda item. Item 7, other business, chair's business. I have none. Old business. Doesn't look like we have any. New business. Anyone? Anyone? Not hearing any. So we will move on to committee reports. Does anybody have any committee reports? Yes, Commissioner Kress.
There's going to be something in the newsletter with a more thorough recap of the FLIP program, I think at the end of the month, but I can just tell you that it went really well. Future Leaders in Planning, in case you've forgotten that. For my day job, we partnered with them and we did 2 kind of field exercises in downtown. One with THEA, as mentioned earlier, underneath the Selman, over by the dog park, and kind of having the kids dream about what you could do to make that an active public space. And then the other one centered on Marion Transit Parkway. And kind of some big idea generating there. And they actually gave really good feedback. I think one of them wanted a roller coaster on Marion, but other than that, it was really good. So so please, read that recap when it comes out. And I think it's just a program that's going to continue to grow. I think there were 17 kids this year, so.
And I was remiss in mentioning that in my report, and thanking all of the staff who put that together and chaperoned the students as they went around town, but also to thank you all for your participation. Commissioner Fernandez made a presentation. Commissioner Seria met them at the airport and gave them great insights about that. Commissioner Joseph was there for the last presentations. Commissioner Rodriguez came and gave them a presentation about MacDill Air Force Base. So it really makes the program that much more robust that you all participate and share your expertise as well. So thank you.
I'll also add on, I was very happy to hear about everybody's participation, because I've harped on that. Even before you got here, that was one of my big harpings when I got onto this thing, was that we should all take part and do something with the kids, because it's tons of fun. So I was very glad to hear Commissioner Soria. Commissioner Kress, you got talked up a lot in the last meeting when we were talking about where the ideas for the project came from. They were very excited to have met you and gone through that. So I'm very thankful for all your efforts. It was really appreciated, and the program was really great this year. Commissioner Bernstein?
Yeah, I could give a quick update on TPO. I got to sit in as an alternate for Commissioner Soria at the May 10th TPO meeting, and you touched on this a little bit earlier. There was a robust discussion about feasibility study on consolidating the MPOs into a regional one, as you would imagine. I would not say it was heated, but certainly a lot of intense discussion. From a lot of different perspectives, ultimately the vote came down, I'd say, pretty substantially in favor of moving forward. Maybe 1 to 2 dissenting votes. There was, I think, at least one concern expressed by a member of the Citizens Advisory Committee prior to the vote. But generally speaking, the consensus seemed to be that it was in the best interests of the county to at least explore it, which is essentially what it's being directed to do by Tallahassee regardless, but there's some good discussion leading up to the vote.
All right, thank you. Are there any more committee reports from anyone? Not seeing any at this time, then we'll move on to our final item on the agenda, which is adjournment. So at 4:45, we will adjourn this meeting and be back at, what time is the second? 5:30. We'll see you at 5:30. Meeting adjourned.